We're going to start things off with, I think, Melissa, you've got an interesting topic you want to touch on. So it had to do with the film industry, I believe.
Hollywood, baby.
It's our industry. We love it.
That's right. I'm going to be reading from my little notebook because I don't want to make any mistakes with my words.
Good luck with that.
Anyone heard of Wikipedia?
Yep.
No.
Check it out. Yeah, if you haven't.
So what is that, sorry?
It's filled with lots of information, such as how Hollywood came to be.
Okay.
Yeah, and lots of witchy and mythical things.
Are there like spells on there, stuff like that? Or
You know, there could be, I didn't dig that deep, but it does talk about things like that. So I'm going to read something that I actually found interesting to you guys. And it's just about how Hollywood kind of came to be. So it says that in traditional English folklore, holly leaves without prickles are masculine in nature. Wow, I didn't know that. And they're called he holly. And the more usual prickled variety is feminine. That's funny. Sorry. And it's called a she holly. And holly is associated with Saturn by Nicholas. Now, correct me if I say this wrong. Culpeper?
Culpeper?
Sure. Culpepper. And Mars and the element of fire, according to other sources. Holly can be used in spells or be used for material gain, physical revenge, beauty, protection, especially against lightning. Yeah. Yeah.
Very specific.
It definitely made sure to like bold that out when you go onto the site and it talks about it, especially against lightning. I guess maybe lightning is a thing against witches. I don't know.
Yeah.
It like prevents the lightning from hitting you.
You could ask the guy, you know, who is, what's his name?
Santa.
Statue of Liberty?
No, with the kite and the key. And
Ben Franklin?
Yes. I said Santa.
the tip of my
Ryan, can you get Ben Franklin on the phone for us so we can ask him this question?
He needs to use Hollywood, okay? But anyway, no, I guess he was testing lightning, so that would definitely go against everything. But anyway, so yeah, it's also for luck and dream magic. Holly can also be used in any ritual relating to death, rebirth, and seasonal mysteries. I don't know what it means by seasonal mysteries, but you can only wonder. Very mysterious. Because holly burns very hot, it is suitable for any fire festivals.
Can you smoke it?
Maybe. I don't want to say yes, but I don't want to say no.
Is this a dumb question? Is this the same holly that is used at Christmas time?
Yeah, I read
people-
holly
That is
leaves
not a dumb
sometimes.
question, and that's something that I will definitely take with me, and I will get right back to you on.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christmas really is the devil's holiday.
Just curious.
Actually, there is another conspiracy on that, but we won't get into that. I didn't write it down, but it said Hollywood makes very good wands, which can be used to banish unwanted entities and command evoked spirits. So if we flip the page over, it kind of, I'm not going to read the whole thing because I can't read my writing, but what is Hollywood? Well, back in the day, the magical people, the mystics, they used to create wands out of the holly tree to hypnotize people. It's essentially suggesting a whole art of acting and movies, and showmanship is a version of mystification. So I just want you to ask yourselves, what is TV? When you hear the word TV, what is it?
It's television.
Yes.
Like
One more time.
telekinesis, but with vision.
That's
Like a
right.
David Lynch film. Do you like David Lynch?
I do. Yes.
I can tell. Like Mulholland Drive is what's in my head right now.
So yes, television. You see different channels, and what do those channels have?
Programs.
You've got it. He was paying attention. Amazing. Hollywood. There's movies that are for better or for worse, and they have profound impact on us as human beings. Learn to change our behaviors to mimicry, aka miming things. Growing up in the 90s, you can remember that there was certain films that are based on the wars. And there was the Cuban missiles that hit, if you remember anything like that. And they portrayed a bad guy in those films. Could you take a guess what kind of bad guy that would be? Yes, Cheyenne.
I think it was from like Red Dawn. Wasn't it like a Russian guy?
There we go. Bing! Where's the ding, ding, ding?
I honestly think this thing's broken.
Ryan is
Sound
slacking.
guy. Do we need a new sound guy?
That's right. Can we do that again? Say Russians.
All right. Russian.
Wow. Okay. So basically, it's portraying that if you're a child and you get on, like, say, a bus or you're walking down the street and you see a Russian, what's this child gonna think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like how are you going to be able to spot a Russian, right? I mean, the way that
By the accent.
yeah, that's what the person speaks. So, I mean, I get your point that Hollywood is really about creating propaganda and then somehow turning that into a reality. So, if they want to target a specific, group, whether it's an ethnic group, whether it has to do with religion or race or what part of the world they're from, it's very easy for Hollywood to brainwash the masses just by coming out with a couple of movies like Red Dawn or like, Saving Private Ryan or Apocalypse Now or whatever. And they will now have this villain and everybody will believe that because of that group of villains, that the entire race or country or ethnic background of those people, they're all villains. And Hollywood's very smart that way, right? And it has to do with the fact that my view on that is most people who watch movies or watch a lot of TV shows, they believe it's real. They actually believe that the information behind it is actually real. So they start now peddling that same message out to people. They'll teach their children that as well too. And now you have a whole, nation of people who are vilified, like Russians. Or, there was a time where it was people from the Middle East. They were basically just considered terrorists. So if you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, any one of his movies, the villain would always be some crazy Arab, like holla, 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 like freaking out with a beard, and they're all like sweaty with rags on and stuff, and just crazy, like with crazy eyes, and they depict them as being the ones who are just, you can't even talk to them, you can't reason with them, they just want to kill. And then when that started happening, you would see that in social media, people just got brainwashed by that and basically believe that anybody with a beard or a woman wearing a headscarf, these are all terrorists. And unfortunately, now the Russians are the Middle Eastern Arabs of the 2000s. They're like the mortal enemy. To the point, and this is, I just realized this is so funny. I live in Oakville. So at my house, there was like 5 cop cars were in the front of my house, like 2 a.m. And I went outside because one of them was blocking my driveway. I was like, move your effing car. What are you doing? Don't block my driveway. And they told me that someone had ordered pizza or Uber Eats. And when the driver got out of the car, 2 guys jumped into his car and took off and stole it. I was like, okay. So I asked the officer, I said, listen, we're going to be doing a promotion, like a video promo type of thing, right? And he's like, okay. And I said, what we're going to do is we're going to take a car and we're going to cover it in Russian flags and drive around town. And this was about, in March of this year. And he's like, well, why would you do that? I was like, well, why not? It's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Like, you've got cars everywhere. Like, I remember I was driving and there was a brand new BMW X5, like brand spanking new. They had 4 fucking flags on every window of a Ukrainian flag.
Oh, wow.
And when I pulled up beside the car, it was an Asian woman who was driving the car. I was like, what the fuck? So I came up with the idea that I'm going to get a car and have all a bunch of like Russian flags and stickers all over the vehicle. And I asked the police officer, I said, if you saw this car driving around, would you pull it over? And he said, yes. I was like, why? Like, if I'm Russian and I'm proud of my heritage and I love my country, does that automatically mean that I'm a terrorist or I'm killing children? So I cannot have a fucking Russian flag? Like, that's just bullshit, right? So this is how far things go. You think that we live in a country where things are, you can express yourself freely. No, with Hollywood, with stuff that people watch on TV, that becomes the new narrative. And if you go against that narrative, you're the bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. So you're from the Ukraine, right?
Yeah, but about flag, now in this situation, it means he accept the war.
Not necessarily. I
But
don't.
it's happened only like now when it started the war, people start like show like who is who. Yeah, I'm from Ukraine, I'm from Russia. And some people really accept the war about Ukraine. So they just straight to tell like, yeah, like Russia is right and just kill these people.
But if you have a flag, if, like, for example, I don't know if you guys know this. This is how ridiculous this is. You know how they have like dog shows, right?
Yeah.
Dog shows, right? So they have cat shows.
I love cat shows.
So cat shows, and you can look this up. Recently, they banned Russian cats that are, from Russia.
What?
are
Really?
banned. Any breed that's Russian bred is banned.
Okay, I have to ask why.
Why?
Because what we're just talking about.
Where did you
seriously,
read
the
that?
Cats, like,
I read it 6 months ago. You can look it up. Next thing, Special Olympics. There was they have Olympics that are for Special Olympics, right, for individuals. So one of the couples, it's a male and female. They're Russian and they're blind. They were banned from the Olympics, the Special Olympics, because they're Russian.
oh my god.
So it went to the point where even someone like
I think they use some like drugs.
no
they
no
find it in the
no, they just told them you're not allowed. And even to the point, like Ryan, you're obviously a big fan of the NHL, right?
Yeah.
So Wayne Gretzky had made a statement that he felt that all Russian players should be sympathizing with Ukraine and they should be asked to say something. It's like, he's an athlete. Like, Ovechkin's an athlete. What does he have to do with the war?
Well, he's taking heat because he's like
Well, he had a picture with Putin.
Yeah, they're
so what?
best friends.
But that doesn't mean he's a bad guy, right? I
No.
mean, he lives in the U.S.
I think it's actually like affecting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think he's
I find that in society we go too far. Like, just because, your background, you might be, I don't know, German, right? You're from Germany. So does that mean that like you should be behaving a certain way around Jewish people?
I don't know.
Like,
For me personally, no. But my father, yes, my father's Scottish. One thing he told me, no English guy is allowed. I'm not allowed to, I was never allowed to date an English guy
because Scottish is English as well.
no, they're not.
Yeah, they
Because
are.
the English,
The Scots
the
are-
English enslaved the Scottish, enslaved them, and they used to rape and pillage and steal our children, and they enslaved us. It wasn't until William Wallace came around that we got our independence. So
Mel Gibson, you mean?
he was a real person.
I'm just joking.
I get very offensive.
back
That's
to
my
Hollywood.
heritage. But no, growing up, my dad would tell me, you can date a girl, you can date any kind of race, whatever. I don't care, big, small, big, fat, whatever. You bring an English kid into this house, I'll headbutt him. I'll Glasgow kiss him so far he won't even remember the next week.
So, I mean, do you
love
agree
a
with
Glasgow kiss.
Right?
Yeah.
that? Do you agree with that?
Honestly, no, but that was, but my dad, because
It's
of
old
his,
school.
it's old school because of his heritage and hearing that. No, we're in Canada now. No, but
I don't believe that if there's a car that's driving in Toronto and they happen to have a Russian flag on their window, that means they're supporting the Russian war. It's their country. They love their country. Just because you love your country doesn't mean that your country can't do wrong. Just because you love your country doesn't mean you're supporting what they're doing, but you can love where you're from. Go ahead. No, you speak up, Julia. I can tell you want to say something.
No, it's just about before the war, before the start of the war, it was like less people who used the flag. Nobody care like to show. Okay, I am in Canada. I am from Russia. I won't show this everybody. But when it start, like everybody choose the position. Who like about
almost like they chose sides.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And I
before the
remem-
war, I didn't see any Ukrainian flags.
So choose the position. You like choose the side. So and you like show it. And I know a lot of the situation, like people who live here from Russia, they start like fight with people, Ukrainian people. It was in the beginning, and I remember when it was start in Ukraine. In Russia, 80% people accept this word. 80
I don't know
person.
how accurate that number is. If I was looking to meet,
80, yeah.
if that's coming from
Because the-
American sources, I don't know if 80% would support. Like you yourself had acknowledged that Ukrainians and Russians are
My
brethren. They're
family
brothers.
lived there,
Yeah.
and they tell me on the TV they show not right news. So
The
they,
same thing happens here. It's all propaganda as well too.
yeah, and my aunt was like a little bit like this mistake. I don't understand what it happened.
But
Because
aren't Ukrainians, before all of this happened, if we go back 20, 30 years ago, like even further, Kiev used to be the capital of Russia. Like isn't the Ukraine and Russia, aren't they brothers? Like they're so close.
Yeah, it was like Kievskaya Rus.
So if you go back 50 years, 100, they've always been very, very close. Like this.
Yeah, but it was Kievskaya Rus, not like just Rus, you know? So it's more about Ukraine. Everywhere was like Ukraine, people speak Ukraine, but after Russia say like, don't speak Ukraine. And they like kill our people, writers.
Yeah.
So we have big story about like, Russia don't want we speak Ukrainian. Like,
Listen,
all of
I
their
don't
life.
support war. I think any kind of war is disgusting. I think there's
For
better
sure.
ways to resolve things. My only view on this is the U.S., for example, has caused so much bloodshed in the Middle East. It's just ludicrous on how many millions and millions of innocent civilians that were killed. Madeleine Albright, who was the Secretary of State, and this is when Bush was the president, they had interviewed her and asked her and said, based on the sanctions you guys have done on Iraq, over 600,000 children, like that, think about that, 600,000 children under the age of 10 have died because of the sanctions. Was it worth it? And her reply was, yes.
Whoa.
So,
It's the greater good concept.
and it's not the greater good.
I totally agree, but that's what that's how, if they're gonna kill 600,000 for what
I mean, that was just by sanctions. Forget about bombing. From the bombing, they killed millions in Iraq.
that was just the children.
That's just the children. So now, if you look into people, how many people in the U.S. proudly display their American flag? Does that mean they support the wars that they've been a part of?
Well, didn't you hear this new thing that came out? The letter to America, it got released on TikTok that Osama bin Laden had made, and all these kids started reading it. And when they realized by the end of the letter, they realized how badly, he might have been right. Not that saying they justified it, but where they understood his perspective, it was completely erased off of TikTok. Now it's banned off TikTok. But it's like you said, there was no reason to get to the bloodshed that it needed to get to.
Even with bin Laden, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I've done a lot of research on this. The bin Laden family were business partners with the Bush family going back to the 80s.
Correct.
And in construction and oil. So they made billions of dollars. And the day after 9/11, which was the 12th of September, the entire U.S. was a no-fly zone. No planes could take off or land. Only one plane was allowed to fly out of Boston, and it had passengers on there. And guess which people were on that flight? The bin Laden family. So if your message is that we're going after Osama bin Laden, why the following day would you allow all of his relatives to leave the country? And this is, you can look it up. It's all public information. So that begs to differ what's really going on here, right? So I understand that with what's happening in Ukraine or what's happening in Israel is horrible. Even with Israel, I say both the sides were killing each other, disgusting. Whether you're a military might or you're weak, that's not the way to resolve things. But back to your topic, Hollywood is just a master. They're spin masters.